Hello, this is 5 on 20 News with Luke Goodhart.
And I'm Tammy King, and we're coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It is Wednesday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, or Singles Awareness Day.
I hate this holiday.
Yeah, me too. First in local headlines.
Tempe-based construction company Fisher Sand and Gravel submitted a proposal to the federal government claiming that they can build a 700-mile border wall in 6 years. CEO Thomas Fisher confirmed the proposal, saying that his crews could build a total of 400 feet of wall per day within 2 months, then speed up the rate of building from there. He predicts that his crew would be able to build 1 mile per day by the end of the first year, then be able to double the rate in 2 years. The wall would cover the states of California, Arizona, and New Mexico, but Fisher says his company would be able to cover the job quickly if the federal government expands the contract. Fisher says that his crew will use only American-made products to build the 32-foot-tall wall, which he says will last 150 years. The company also promises to build a castle made of rainbows and friendship, and says the government will actually make money by using their services. The Trump administration is likely to be interested in the deal, since their ludicrous exaggeration reminds Trump of his own insane braggadocio.
A group of women sent sanitary pads and tampons to Arizona Representative Thomas Shope after he held up a bill that would provide free and unlimited feminine hygiene products to female inmates. The hashtag #LetItFlow campaign built up steam in social media over the weekend as women began posting pictures of tampons and pads that were sent to Shope. Shope is the chair of the House Rules Committee and held up the bill because the state's Department of Corrections was changing its policies on the products. The bill in question would allocate $80,000 to provide free and unlimited access to feminine hygiene products. Democratic Representative Aletha Salmon, who introduced the bill, said that the inmates are given 12 pads each month and are responsible for purchasing more if they run out. She said that the bill is about the basic dignity of being a woman. But Republican spokesman Matthew Speck said that the Arizona Department of Corrections decided to change their policy to provide female inmates with sufficient hygiene products. As a result, he says the bill is redundant. Speck was then asked, if the bill is redundant, then why not just vote and make it a law? Speck stared in silence for several awkward seconds before leaving with 2 fistfuls of pads and tampons.
What's he up to with all those pads and tampons?
Nosebleeds?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Arizona Senator Jeff Flake plans to introduce an immigration bill this week that seeks to bridge the divide between Republicans and Democrats. The bill would allocate $25 billion for a border trust security fund, where $1.8 billion would be immediately available annually for improvements, road construction, and other uses. The funding could also be used for further hiring by the Border Patrol. The bill would provide a path to citizenship for 1.8 million DACA recipients, the same number once proposed by the White House. However, it differs from the White House plan by prioritizing the backlog of family-sponsored immigrants. The provision will likely be opposed by Republicans who want to see an end to so-called chain migration. According to the bill, once the backlog is ended, 10,000 additional visas will be given to people with doctorates in science and math. Another 10,000 would go to immigrants with startup investments, and 5,000 for employment visas. Finally, the bill would eliminate the diversity visa lottery, another program frequently criticized by the president, who still believes it involves bouncing balls and a crank. Just like that.
A bill introduced by Arizona Representative Jay Lawrence that would ban masks. A protest passed a House committee yesterday and now heads to a full House for a vote. The bill makes it a felony to wear a mask while committing a crime, protesting, or attending a political or public event. However, the bill allows people to wear disguises for business purposes or even when masks are expected, like Halloween or a Hamburglar convention. Lawrence defended the bill from criticism that it violates First Amendment rights without even being asked about it. He said the bill doesn't infringe on the First Amendment rights of anyone, but rather holds those accountable who are committing a crime wearing a mask or a hood to disguise their identity. That sounds like logic. Lawrence also said that masked people at protests have shown a tendency to defy police orders, citing Antifa and saying that they were wearing masks, hoods, and throwing things at police officers. Officials in the Midwest and New England are looking to adopt similar laws so that constituents can't protest during the winter. You know, with the scarves and the...
More frostbite from protesters coming soon.
Yes. Now in national and international news.
Democrats blocked Republicans from voting on an immigration bill after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called an 8 p.m. voting session. The first vote concerned a proposal by Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey, which targets federal grants for sanctuary cities. The bill would have inflicted penalties for cities that didn't comply with federal immigration agents. Dick Durbin, the number 2 Senate Democrat, objected to the request to vote because it didn't address the DACA issue. Congress has been attempting a bill to address the DACA program, which allows undocumented immigration protections against deportation if they were brought to the U.S. as children. The Senate has set a goal to end debate on the issue by the end of the week before DACA protections expire on March 5th. At that point, Democrats and Republicans will begin blaming each other and tweeting sophomoric remarks at each other instead of, fixing the problem.
That's what I do. Send out text. U.S. drone destroyed a Russian-made tank in eastern Syria over the weekend, killing 3 people who may or may not have been Russian. The Air Force confirmed that drones and B-52 bombers led the strike after they came under fire from the tank. Air Force Lieutenant General Jeffrey Harrigan refused to say if the men killed inside the tank were Russian. This is the second attack this week by U.S. forces against fighters loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Last Wednesday, about 100 Russian mercenaries were killed in eastern Syria after they started what the U.S. claims was an unprovoked attack on the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF. The incidents will likely ratchet up tensions between the U.S. and Russia, who backs al-Assad, but has joined the U.S. in the fight against ISIS. However, Syria has become so confusing with so many different alliances and opposing forces that it seems impossible to envision a diplomatic solution anytime soon. Harrigan said that best in his statement following the latest strike against the Russian tank. When asked if the men were Russians, he said, it's not as simple to sort out exactly who everyone is down there. And we need to allow that to work its way through, which is maybe the least reassuring thing anyone's ever said during wartime.
Not very reassuring, no.
No, not at all.
Democratic Senator Cory Booker announced on Twitter yesterday that he will no longer accept donations from corporate PACs. In the post, Booker said, quote, "I'm joining several of my colleagues and no longer accepting these contributions. Our campaign finance system is broken." He then thanked the organization Stop Big Money for helping him make the decision. Booker joins Democrats Kristen Gillibrand, Elizabeth Warren, Maria Cantwell, and Bernie Sanders in swearing off corporate PACs, which have taken an outsized role in our political system. According to inside sources, the senators are experiencing some shakes and night sweats as they try to detox from all that toxic corporate cash.
Oh, night sweats are the worst. A federal court blocked an attempt by Birmingham, Alabama to form a new school district because they say that the move had radical motives. Sorry, they had racial motives. The primary white suburb of Gardendale sought to secede from the Jefferson County School District, citing local rights as its motive. However, a 3-judge panel concluded that the attempt was done with a, quote, discriminatory purpose. They said that the city wanted to exclude black children from its new school and that the succession would impede the efforts of the Jefferson County Board to fulfill its desegregation obligations. Throughout Jefferson County, 42% of the residents are black, while 53% are white. However, in Gardendale, 88.4% residents are white, while 6.8% are black. Despite the ruling, the court said Gardendale could still succeed in the future if it did go against the Jefferson County Board's desegregation efforts. This system of seceding from school districts has become increasingly popular in recent years, with critics saying that it allows school districts to sidestep desegregation laws. U.S. News and World Report found that 36 school districts across the county have tried to break away from large school districts since 2000. One notable example was in Memphis, where in 2011, 6 communities defected from the school district after a low-income school district was absorbed into a larger district. The report also notes that in Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Maine, and Utah, state laws don't require that a secession be voted on by the school district. But why shoot for racial unity when you've got legal loopholes?
Why, indeed. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau decided to drop a lawsuit against a lender who allegedly charged interest rates up to 950%. Bureau Director Mick Mulvaney told his staff to drop the lawsuit, which had taken years to put together. The case involved Golden Valley Lending, who was sued last April for deceptive and abusive business practices. Mulvaney's spokesperson said that the decision to drop the suit wasn't up to him, but by, quote, professional career staff, despite Mulvaney being the director. Several of the Bureau's staff members have challenged this statement, claiming that he was directly involved with the decision. When asked who exactly was responsible, Mulvaney said he answers only to a shadowy figure named the consumer, who issues his commands over a private holographic intercom system a la The Wizard of Oz.
I love The Wizard of Oz.
Me too.
It's my favorite. Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin had his chief of staff doctor sent his chief of staff doctor an email to cover up travel expenses for his wife, according to a VA Inspector General's report released earlier today. The report found that Shulkin's chief of staff, Viveka Wright Simpson, made changes to an official email so that $4,000 in travel expenses would get approval for taxpayer funding. The report also found that Shulkin misused government resources by accepting tickets to Wimbledon and airfare for his wife when he traveled to Europe last summer. Shulkin began serving at the VA during the Obama administration and was named secretary by the Trump administration. He says that the tickets were given to him by a close friend, even though the report states that Shulkin had only met the woman who provided the tickets 3 times at official events. It also states that Shulkin misused the aide's time by having them plan personal activities for he and his wife while they were in Europe on official business. According to the report, the trip cost the department at least $122,000, which it claims was a misuse of VA resources. The report ends by recommending that Shulkin reimburse the VA for the expenses and follow this up by rotting in a plutocratic hell. Plutocratic.
There you have it, folks. A lobbying group backed by the libertarian Koch brothers are fighting paid sick leave laws as a flu epidemic is sweeping the U.S. Paid sick leave laws vary by city and state, with cities like San Francisco requiring private employers to provide an hour of paid sick time for every 30 hours worked. Similar measures now benefit 14 million workers in 32 cities and 9 states. As the flu takes hold across the U.S., new sick leave measures are facing opposition from the National Federation of Independent Business, or NFIB. For example, last month, Maryland lawmakers attempted to override the governor's veto of a bill allowing 700,000 workers to earn sick leave, with the NFIB saying that the law would create job-killing costs. Last Thursday, the NFIB backed a failed attempt to delay the law, which went into effect on Sunday. Now the group is moving on to Texas, where they're urging Austin City Council members to vote no this Thursday on an ordinance that would require paid sick leave from private employers. Tax records show that most of the NFIB's funding comes from Freedom Partners, whose 9-member board is made up of 8 current or former key figures at Koch Industries and other Koch businesses. Despite the fear-mongering, paid sick leave laws have not been shown to impact business operations. In Seattle, where paid sick leave laws went into effect, a University of Washington study showed that the number of employers actually grew in the city following the law's passing. Paid sick leave advocates point to studies showing that flu infection rates decrease in cities where workers earn sick days because workers are less likely to spread the virus by coming into work when they're sick. Yeah, no shit. The same study found that parents who cannot take leave are 2 times more likely to send their sick children to school. The NFIB maintains that sickness builds character. They pointed to the examples of Edgar Allan Poe and Vincent van Gogh, both sickly men who the group says, quote, did just fine.
Today, a school shooting in South Florida killed 17 after a 19-year-old former student opened fire. The student was identified as Nicholas Cruz, who was expelled from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Officials say that Cruz used a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle, but it was unclear if he had any additional weapons. Cruz was taken into custody after carrying out the attack. Students heard gunshots ring out around 2:30 p.m. soon before classes were supposed to be let out. Expect the usual barrage of thoughts and prayers, and expect Congress to again do absolutely nothing about the problem.
This was 5 on 20 News with Luke Goodhart
And Tammy King. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube account, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all the latest creative news, Tucson news, and content. You can also feel free to get in touch with us at info@creativetucson.org. Thanks for watching. Stay creative, Tucson.